Imagine getting pulled over on a routine traffic stop, handing over your license and registration, and walking away with a felony charge that could follow you for the rest of your life. No prior record, no history of trouble, just a couple of small vape cartridges sitting in your car, not even being used at the time. And suddenly you're looking at a future where job applications, voting rights, housing options, and basic freedoms are all in question. That is exactly what happened to one person in Texas, and their story is a wake-up call that millions of people across this country desperately need to hear. Let's talk about where we are with marijuana laws in America right now, because the landscape is confusing, inconsistent, and frankly dangerous if you don't understand it. As of right now, over half of the states in the United States have legalized recreational marijuana in some form. You can walk into a dispensary in California, Colorado, Illinois, Michigan, and dozens of other places, buy cannabis products completely legally, and go about your day. It feels normal, it feels mainstream, it's advertised on billboards, celebrities endorse it, it's been normalized to a degree that would have been unimaginable just 15 years ago. But here's the thing that trips people up constantly, and it's the thing that likely derailed this person's life without warning. Not every state got the memo. Texas is one of the strictest states in the entire country when it comes to marijuana enforcement. While your friends in Denver or Portland are shopping for edibles like they're picking out coffee beans, in Texas, possessing certain cannabis products can land you a felony charge. Not a misdemeanor, a felony. And the distinction there is enormous. It's the difference between a speeding ticket and something that reshapes the entire trajectory of your existence. So who is the person at the center of this story? We're not going to use any names here, but this is someone who shared their situation publicly, looking for answers, looking for reassurance, and honestly, just looking for someone to tell them it wasn't as bad as it felt. They were clear from the start. They weren't there to debate marijuana legalization. They weren't looking for a political conversation. They were dealing with cold, hard legal reality, and they needed to understand what was coming. Here's what happened. This person was driving in Texas when they got pulled over. During that stop, law enforcement discovered a couple of THC vape cartridges in the vehicle. The cartridges weren't being used. This person was not impaired. There was no accident, no reckless driving, no other criminal activity involved. Just a traffic stop, a search, and a discovery of something that in many parts of the country would be completely legal. But in Texas, THC, that's tetrahydrocannabinol, the psychoactive compound in marijuana, is treated very differently from CBD. And here's where the law gets especially complicated and especially harsh. In Texas, the legality of a cannabis product hinges heavily on its form. Marijuana flower, the raw plant, is handled under one set of rules. But THC concentrate, which includes vape cartridges, wax, oil, and similar products, falls under a different and much more severe classification. Possession of THC concentrate in any amount in Texas is a state jail felony, even a tiny amount, even less than a gram. We're talking about something that weighs almost nothing, and the legal consequences are catastrophic. A state jail felony in Texas carries a potential sentence of 180 days to 2 years in a state jail facility, plus fines up to $10,000. But the sentence itself, as serious as it is, might not even be the worst part. The worst part is what a felony conviction does to the rest of your life. This person laid it out themselves. They're worried they'll never be able to find a decent job. They're worried about their voting rights. They're worried about where they can live, what they can do, who they can become. And those fears are not irrational. They are completely grounded in how felony convictions work in this country. Let's break that down. When you have a felony on your record, you are required to disclose it on most job applications. Many employers, especially in fields like healthcare, finance, education, government, and law, have automatic disqualification policies for felony convictions. Even employers who don't have hard rules are often hesitant. Background checks flag it immediately. Suddenly you're explaining yourself in every interview, carrying the weight of one moment in your car for the rest of your professional life. Housing is another massive issue. Many landlords run background checks, and a felony conviction can disqualify you from renting in private housing. Public housing programs often have even stricter rules, with outright bans on applicants with drug-related felonies. So now you're not just struggling to work, you're struggling to find a safe place to live. Voting rights. In Texas, you lose the right to vote while serving a felony sentence, including any probation or parole period. Once you've completed your sentence in full, your voting rights are restored. But that process and those years matter enormously to people who care about participating in civic life. Federal benefits, student loans, professional licenses, firearm rights, all of these can be affected by a felony drug conviction depending on the specific circumstances. The ripple effects are wide, deep, and long-lasting. Now here's where the story takes a turn that matters, and it's the part that this person and anyone in a similar situation really needs to understand. They mentioned they were already speaking with a lawyer. That is the single most important thing they could have done, and it deserves to be said loudly. Getting legal representation immediately is not optional in a situation like this. It is essential. Because here's what many people don't realize when they're in that terrified, desperate moment right after an arrest. A charge is not a conviction. A charge is the beginning of a legal process, not the end of one. And there are multiple points in that process where outcomes can change dramatically depending on how the case is handled. A skilled criminal defense attorney in Texas is going to look at several things immediately. First, they're going to examine the traffic stop itself. Was there probable cause for the stop? Was the search of the vehicle conducted legally? Was consent given? And if so, under what circumstances? Were there any violations of Fourth Amendment rights? If the stop or the search was conducted improperly, evidence can potentially be suppressed, and if the evidence gets thrown out, the case can fall apart entirely. Second, they're going to look at first-time offender options. Texas has programs including deferred adjudication, which allows certain first-time offenders to complete probation and upon successful completion, avoid a final conviction on their record. This is not guaranteed, and it depends heavily on the specific charge, the jurisdiction, the judge, and the prosecutor, but it is a real possibility that a good defense attorney will pursue aggressively. Third, they're going to look at diversion programs. Some Texas counties have drug diversion programs specifically designed to route low-level, non-violent drug offenders away from the traditional criminal justice system and toward treatment or education instead. Completing one of these programs can sometimes result in charges being dismissed entirely. This person was scared, understandably so. They said it was eating them alive. They didn't know whether to be optimistic or pessimistic. And the honest answer is that they shouldn't be either, not yet. Right now, the most productive mental space to occupy is realistic and proactive. The situation is serious. A felony charge in Texas for THC concentrate is not something to wave away, but it is also not automatically a life sentence. It is a legal process, and legal processes have variables, and those variables can be influenced by smart, strategic, experienced legal counsel. So what can you take from this? Whether you are the person in this exact situation or someone watching because you want to stay informed, here are the things that matter most. Know the laws in your state. Not just the headlines, not just the vibe, but the actual laws. Texas is not Colorado. State lines are legal lines, and crossing them or simply existing in a state with strict cannabis laws can have consequences that feel wildly disproportionate to the act itself. Second, if you are ever arrested or charged with anything, get an attorney before you say anything else to anyone. Not a friend, not a family member, an attorney. Third, understand that a charge is a starting point, not a verdict. The legal system has processes, and those processes include opportunities for outcomes other than the worst-case scenario you're imagining at 2 a.m. And finally, take care of your mental health through this. This person described it as eating them alive. That's a real and serious thing. Legal proceedings take time, and carrying that weight without support is brutal. Talk to someone, a counselor, a therapist, a trusted person in your life. The legal battle and the personal battle both need attention. If this happened to you, or someone you know is facing a drug charge and doesn't know where to turn, The most important first step is finding a criminal defense attorney who knows your state's laws cold. Don't rely on what you read online alone. Every case has unique facts, and those facts matter enormously. Consult a professional, ask hard questions, and advocate for yourself at every stage of the process. If you found this video useful, consider subscribing. We break down real legal situations in plain language so you understand what's actually at stake and what your options actually are. Because the law affects everyone, and everyone deserves to understand it.